Hörst du mich noch? Ich höre die Max nicht. Die Info. Good morning to our last morning show. Tomorrow is the grand final, but today is our last morning show. It's breaking my heart. So
mine
sad.
Too.
But we should just directly start, I would say.
No, Cornelius. We have to reveal something to you.
No, we don't.
I want to do this, really. I want to.
What do you want, Farina?
It's not...
Farina, sorry, but this is not about your feelings. This is about the first semester students.
I know. And we are in academia, and that means you have to know the truth. It wasn't us building this back panel.
Well, we've been there, and you saw it in the intro.
It wasn't us.
Okay.
It was those wonderful, gorgeous, talented boys, Paul and Luca. Here they are.
You're right. It feels good to say that. It's off my chest. And we brought a picture of them. So nice people. And they are responsible for this wonderful back face of our studio that we've been living in the last days. That
now it's out. Feels better.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And I would say...
Okay, so now that is off my chest as well. I think we can start with prof time.
Yes.
For today.
So good morning, dear students. It's great having you, and we have a dense time, quite exciting people to talk to, a video. Therefore, we directly start, and we start with the second mayor of the free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg, Katharina Fegebank. It's great having you, and most of you probably know that Katharina is kind of the second mayor, that she's a senator for research, science, and equal opportunities. But what you probably don't know is that she was also very instrumental in setting up this university as you know it today, and also kind of inventing or constructing something like the Orientation Week. Therefore, she can emphasize a lot with you, and you see that the Orientation Week can also get you to being a second mayor of the Hanseatic city of Hamburg. Welcome, Katharina. And we very much look forward to your thoughts, input with regards to cities. Good morning.
Moin, as we say in Hamburg. Hello, dear students. Hello, Professor Schoop. Hello, Daniel Lang. So good to see you again. Very excited to be on your morning show today, and very excited to be part of the Orientation Week. And indeed, I was very privileged to be part of the Farina team from 2007 until 2013. And actually, it was one of my first jobs to organize in a huge team, the Orientation Week in 2007. So it's fantastic to be back on this show. And it's very fantastic to see that despite of Corona and despite of the not easy circumstances, you really managed to have another fantastic Orientation Week. And I think it's very important for you students, first of all, to get to know each other, first year students, and then on the other hand, to really get a feel of what university life is like. And the Orientation Week, the opening week, that really makes you feel home at Farina. So I hope you like it, or you've liked it so far. And I'm happy to be part of this prof time this morning and to talk and discuss with you a little bit on future cities. And indeed, the future of cities, of urban living, is of vital importance for living together. I'm sure you know that the UN predicts that 68% of the world's population will live in urban areas by 2050. And that means that there is a special focus on the development of cities in many respects. And there are, of course, a lot of challenges ahead of us. And me being part of the government in the free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg, we try to address all those challenges. And I will, of course, focus a little bit on Hamburg, but I think that can be transformed into other contexts as well. Of course, you have a growing population in most urban and metropolitan areas. We see that in the metropolitan area of Hamburg as well. We are growing up to 2 million people by the year 2030-35. We have over 5 million people in the metropolitan area. Lüneburg also belongs to that metropolitan area. We have to address the challenge of diverse population. Diversity and social cohesion is a very vital focus point. We have a changing economy, and we have not only the political, but also the society goal of becoming a green, climate neutral city much earlier than 2050, according to the Paris Climate Agreement goals. Actually, we have to be climate neutral by 2035. And that, of course, puts a lot of challenges ahead of us in changing our economy, in transforming the way we move, like mobility. And as I just said, the topic of diversity, social cohesion, and equal rights. I will not only be in second mayor, which means deputy mayor in Hamburg, but also senator, that means Minister for Science and Research. I will focus a little bit on the topic of science and how far science and research really can be drivers for urban development. And I want to quickly highlight three aspects of three facets. We have on the one hand our universities, and I want to address one field. We have a city science lab at our Hafen City University. That's the University for Architecture and Urban Build in Hamburg. Actually, there are some cooperations also going on between the HCU and Leuphana. And they have a city science lab, which means a city model on the basis of urban data. And with this model, you can actually take any field. You can take health, you can take sports, you can take culture, you can take housing, and can go into the districts of the city or take any other city and see how things are changing, how things have to be developed through the power of science and research. And what we did a few years ago when the huge numbers of refugees came to Europe, came to Germany, and also came to our city, we took that this databases model and invited people from all districts of Hamburg and had a good discussion with them where to put those people, where to create housing for refugees, just to give you one example. And that shows you in how far smart cities, smart digital cities, and the way we create a common society and we create social cohesion can work when you participate or let people participate in those political processes. Because people who took part in that, they realized how difficult it is for us as politicians, as decision makers, to really identify the right places for housing in this particular case. So this is one way of how you see science as problem solver, science as a driver for urban development, science as a driver for bringing people together and solving societal problems. I want secondly address science as a driver really for urban development projects. We have in Hamburg the so-called Science City Hamburg-Bahrenfeld, and it's the first time in the history of our proud Hanseatic trade and portsman city that science really creates a new district where you have housing, where you have facilities for students, for researchers. You have the huge infrastructures such as DESI, for instance, or the European XFAL, where you can do excellent research, which is unique worldwide. So it attracts scientists from all over the world on the one hand. It attracts students, national and international students, as well as people who say, we want to live in that inspiring environment. So for the first time in our history, we see that in a district where you don't have a relation to science in that sense, we will have 10, 15,000 people who will live there within the next 15 years. And we see that also in the districts such as Harburg. We see that in our district Bergedorf, which is quite a rural district, where we built a completely new little town. It's called Oberbillwerder, and people were very skeptical. And in the moment where we said there will be a university in the center, people got more relaxed because they realized there will be people, there will be traffic during the day. It will not be just a place to sleep and then nothing else happens. But we will have the health campus. So that really triggers urban development at its best. And of course, the third huge aspect where science can be an enormous support and driver for urban development is the whole transformation process ahead of us. Transformation process in terms of how to make a city of science and innovation, how to really use what we have in our heads, the brains, like the human capital, much better than we did in the past. As I said, a traditional ports and tradesmanship, where there wasn't a focus on science and research for a long, long time in this city. And going through this transformation, helping the port, helping the airport to transform, to become climate neutral, to use smart city devices, how to become cleaner, more convenient, more intelligent and safer when it comes to transformation of mobility. That really is something science can achieve. And maybe I stop here so we can discuss, and I take your questions, and then we can maybe highlight even more what the power of cities is in the future.
Thank you very much. I have a question for you concerning the current situation. So we've seen that in the past couple of months that we can't really plan ahead anymore. And I was wondering, how do you as a politician deal with these insecurities and uncertainties posed by the COVID-19 pandemic?
That was a completely new situation for all of us, because it changes, on the one hand, the way of decision making. Most people have the prejudice that when it comes to politics, things slow down and it takes ages and ages. And the first thing we learned is things don't have to be perfect. We just have to take a decision. And those decisions are very hard, and they are vital, of course, for the social peace in cities, because some people think your decisions are too hard and you take our freedom, and others think you're far too soft. You have to be far stricter, and you have to introduce rules and laws that make it even harder for people to move and to live their freedom in order to keep their health. So maybe one lesson learned is to be more flexible, not to be perfect in your decisions, and to explain more. Mm-hmm. This is what I've learned tremendously. You have to explain why you decide to go a certain way, or why you don't decide to do things this way or that way. So flexibility, better explanation, and sometimes really keep cool or stay cool, because this is a situation nobody of us has ever experienced before. Maybe we should have known and listened to science earlier that things like that would be coming, and not just in a certain place on this planet, but everywhere. So it has affected so far the entire planet. And then, of course, and this is something that is another lesson learned, we realized that last year and the year before last year, when it came to climate change, that science became a more important role. And we see that with COVID-19 too. I mean, the federal government, and we do it in Hamburg as well, and I think in Lower Saxony also, we have scientists who give us advice, and then it's on us, and always try to protect the scientists, because people say, yeah, but one scientist says this and the other one that, and how come they are scientists? They have to agree upon a certain thing. Said no, we have to really decide upon what what scientists give us, and then it's our decision. That's why we politicians and you are scientists. And I think we have to realize that a little better.
Thank you so much for this, for your insights also what science can contribute. And I'm already hearing that we are running out of time. Still, what I would, maybe you can very shortly give us an idea, because you're not only a senator for science and research, but also for equal rights. And I think cities should be places, should be just places, etc. And I recently read an interview also of you where you said, well, there is still a long way to go to get to just and places where we have equal opportunities in city. What are the next steps? How can we really achieve this vision of cities as places where everybody has equal opportunities?
If we stick to our constitution, we could, or we can have it immediately, but there are a lot of obstacles on the way. And on the one hand, I'm quite motivated because I see that in some fields we have improvements. For instance, when I look at Hamburg, we have an excellent early care, kindergarten coverage all over the city. So it would be easy for couples to say, I go back to work full-time or part-time, or let's share the way we work and the way we take care about our family. Schools also to go there for a whole day and not just until lunchtime. So we really have changed the system a little bit, and of course created a framework where we have laws that guarantees that in executive board, for instance, at least 40% women are in power. On the other hand, you name it, you take the different fields, you take science, you take the economy, you take politics, we are far from having 50% when you talk about gender equality, but we have many other forms of equality. We have handicapped, disabled people, for instance. We have the issue being a German and coming from abroad, like have a migratory background. So there are so many fields that shape our future city and shape the present of our cities, and diversity is such a chance. It's really such a chance for all of us, because everybody has its own not only personality but own impact on our society, and therefore we have to go both ways. We have to change the mindsets on the one hand, that is a lot more difficult, and on the other hand we need rules, we need laws, and we need a framework that really encourages, enables, and empowers people to take their share. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Katharina Fegebank. That was wonderful, and thanks for this positive note on diversity at the end. So we are now moving. Bye. Have a good time.
All the best to all students. Lüneburg and the Leuphana is a wonderful place. I really enjoyed it there.
Thank you. Bye. So now we are moving from Hamburg to South America. And
no, actually to Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia.
Even further away. How to? Okay. So
a lesson in geography also here. So many lessons learned.
Exactly. And I studied geoecology, so I should know where some places are. But still, we are coming to concerned artists. So, Monika, what are concerned artists? Can you tell us a bit more about the organization?
Yes, our next interview is going to be a contribution from the Concerned Artists of the Philippines. And the Concerned Artists are an organization comprised of artists, of musicians, of writers, of theater workers, so all kinds of people in the artistic field. And in their work, they address a diverse range of issues that's not only connected to art and culture, but also to the Filipino people in general, so challenges that people are currently facing. And when the organization was founded in 1983, it was active in the struggle for human rights in the context of the Marcos dictatorship. And it's very interesting to see that some of the struggles actually still remain, and the organization is still active today. But Edgie Uyanguren, national representative of the Concerned Artists, will tell us more about the situation in the Philippines, in Manila in particular, and about the protests that are currently ongoing there. Okay, I guess we see.
Can you tell us a bit about the current situation in the Philippines and in Manila in particular?
I can talk about it with reference to the Duterte administration. It's his fourth year. So President Rodrigo Duterte promised so many changes when he campaigned, and he won because of these promises. He promised meaningful change for the workers, like ending contractualization. He promised peace talks, that there would be peace talks among revolutionary groups and the government. But all of these, in a span of 4 years, have failed. Instead of fulfilling these promises, he waged various campaigns against the poor people primarily. So he did war on drugs. So it has killed thousands of innocent civilians, including young people, targeting not the big fishes, but the poorest of the poor in communities. Well, the only thing that I could say that is good is because people are fighting. People are resisting this kind of policies and resisting abuses by coming together, organizing various activities and various programs that would put the government into account, that would put the government accountable for its crimes against the people.
Under these really worrying circumstances, how do you take your protests to the streets?
Currently, the Philippines is, in Manila, is under general community quarantine. So it's not yet safe to go out like in the past. So what we do is we do hybrid protests. We have online protests as well. It's the first time that we were introduced to Zoom and all other social media facilities and tools. We have to be very creative in registering our opinions and in our criticism, because the normal thing, the old ways of gathering together could not work anymore because of the current public health condition. But slowly, we are trying to gather people also offline, because it's also difficult to be everything online. It's impossible to gather more support if everything happens only online, because there would be a time when people are, but because internet connectivity in the Philippines is not as good as in other countries.
Can you give me an example of a recent protest and what it looked like, and what the role of the concerned artists was in that protest?
The biggest one would be the State of the Nation address, SONA. We had the United People's SONA. This is the annual event wherein the president of the Philippines would deliver his speech before the Congress and tell the people about the situation of the country. On the part of the concerned artists of the Philippines, what we did as a sign of protest, we did a lot of collaboration in terms of music and effigy. We did a giant mural depicting the dictatorship. We had painters and artists draw a picture of the current president and how he is how he becomes a puppet of U.S. imperialism, how he becomes a puppet of China, and on the other hand, he has become so militaristic, affecting ordinary Filipinos. So through our drawings and through our songs, we also had collaborations with musicians who created original music to depict the current situation of oppression. We also had this series of collaborations among artists. We produced also this song, Tribute to Frontliners. So we had a song to give our respects to those who died serving the country, those medical doctors and nurses and frontliners. What I would like to also talk about is the attacks not only on the peasants and the workers and the indigenous peoples, because the attacks also happen on the artists. Artists are also being attacked in the Philippines. One specific example is a theater director in Bohol who is currently in jail right now for reasons that he has been very critical about the government. He is organizing farmers. His name is Alvin Fortaleza. He's been in jail for the past 2 years. And the reasons are basically accusations. These are trump-up charges that are filed against him. So we are campaigning for that right now. The one that followed Alvin Fortaleza, his name is Maldos. He was killed recently by the state forces. What artists and basic sectors do is that we're not only performing it, we're not only singing about it, we are filing charges. We are filing it before international courts. We are very serious about this, and we want this government to be accountable for all its crimes. And we will not stop until they are punished. And impunity must really end in the Philippines, because killings should not be happening. We should not be campaigning and saving our lives, because that's already that should be everyone's responsibility, especially the government, to take care of its people. I'm not losing hope that people would realize that we have to really get together and unite. It sounds cliche, but that's the thing that we should be doing. That's what we should do, and we should change this whole system of corruption and impunity, and we should stop. What they're wrong about is they think that the millennial generation are people who don't really care, but they're wrong. People in the younger ones are into research, and they know what's actually really happening. So it's just a matter of getting their interest and arousing their sense of nationalism. And that's the reason why Concerned Artists of the Philippines is doing a lot of creative work in order to reach out to these young people, because young people are the hope of this nation. Actually, when they unite, they have a lot of they're the ones in the internet. They're the digital natives who know what to do with the online tools. So once they are awakened, a lot of things could really happen as well. They could tip the balance.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend and good protest.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So Monika, thanks for this interview and for sharing this. This was very moving. Are there also other artists around the globe kind of protesting against administration?
Yes, actually the concerned artists are not an exception. The interesting thing is that the election of Rodrigo Duterte in the Philippines has had quite equivocal effects. So on the one hand, it has created a culture of fear that has led to self-censorship in many cases. But on the other hand, it has also given rise to really the formation of new alliances. So yes, there are a number of artists and organizations who make their voices heard.
So, what does the protest sound like?
It's very diverse. It's also kind of hard to describe because of the diversity. So maybe I give you a couple of examples. So another good example would be the collective Sandata. And this is a collaboration of rappers and of academics. So they released an album last year that addresses the drug war that's currently the so-called drug war that's currently ongoing and the human rights violations happening in the context of the drug war. I think so far at least 30,000 people have died in the drug war. And the lyrics and the samples that are used in these tracks on the album, they are based on the findings of the researchers in the project. So that's really interesting because music sort of serves as a medium of information, and access to information is an issue in the Philippines right now because also freedom of speech and press freedom does not really exist anymore. So another example would be a collaboration also addressing the issue of press freedom. It's a reworking of an older song from the 1990s by the band The Jerks, the song Rage. So that's also a very recent example, and that's more on the punk side.
Okay.
So it's really, you have hip hop, you have punk, you have indie
Not my turf,
pop
probably.
also. So there's really something for each and every taste. And maybe something I should also mention, because Katharina Fegebank talked about the issue of diversity and gender equality. So that's actually also part of the protests in the Philippines. So, for example, the band The Male Gaze, they're a, it kind of sounds a bit like a riot. They sound a bit like a riot girl band. So they address the sexist remarks of Rodrigo Duterte and his promotion of rape culture. So that's also interesting. So it's really a very, very diverse arena of protests.
So that's super fascinating, and I know that I think the entire interview is online and the students can watch it. But if we want to learn more, where can we learn more, read more, maybe even hear more about the concerned artist?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about the concerned artist or about protests in the Philippines or the musical protest in general, you can check out social media. So social media really is the platform to go to. So these artists, they're all on YouTube, they're all on Facebook, some of them on Twitter and Instagram also. And it's interesting because the Philippines, they have a really bad telecommunications infrastructure. So for those of you who wondered, why did we pre-record the video? It was obviously the interview was pre-recorded. It has to do with the so-called digital divide with access to broadband internet. So the connections in the Philippines are not that great, unfortunately. So, but despite that, the majority of people is on social media platforms. So social media is really where you find more information on that topic.
So that was a great story from Hamburg to, well, we briefly stopped over in South America and then to the Philippines.
Yes.
That was fantastic. And now we hand over to Farina and Cornelius again, I think.
Yes, I think so.
So, dear students, there is none of the 4 academic modes left that we brought to you during the last days, and that means we're not going to see Johanna Hopp for today, unfortunately. But I have a dignified alternative, and that is Professor Funk from the Data X project, because I would say one mode of academia right now is the digital mode, because we all have had a digital semester and probably going to have one more at least Professor Funk, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you're from the DataX project. Why do we have to talk about data in these times?
I think there are several reasons for that, and let me give you a few. So first of all, ever since the 1950s, data has grown exponentially, and in this case, I really mean exponential, which is really a rare thing. Second, data collection has invaded our private lives. I mean, you probably had your smartphone or iPhone moment in the last 12 years, I assume. Some of the students might have smart home devices at their home. So in addition to that, whenever you are in the internet or using smartphone media, then you leave data traces, right? And the third aspect, computational power has evolved also exponentially. And I think, therefore, it's fair to say that data and computational power is now used for the good, but also for the bad in society. Think, for example, of personalized medicine to treat cancer or depressive disorders, but also think on the other hand side of, let's say, things like, and that fits perfectly to the interview we just heard, surveillance of suppressive regimes, right? So there are many things. And perhaps to rephrase these things a little bit, you probably know the statement or the saying, data is the new oil.
Sure.
It was coined, I think, back in 2006 or 7 by a British entrepreneur. I think it's important to see what he added to that. He said, data is valuable, but if unrefined, it can only really hardly be used. And what I would love to see our students become is, in this sense, kind of a refiner of data.
Okay, but how can they do that? Since you're a professor in this DataX project, how can students look behind the mystics of data and start refining?
Depends a bit on what you mean by mystics. So there are different ways to look at that. If you are interested in looking at the impacts or side effects of data and digitality, so we have a couple of courses in the Komplementärstudium, and you have different perspective from all the scientific disciplines we have. So, for example, sustainability or humanities. I think you are from humanities, right?
That's right.
Education or economy. So my perspective is really on, let's say, the method and the technical doing. And if you would like to understand that, then I think you should really watch out for courses under this DataX project. And one thing which perhaps gives you a head start, or our students a head start in the first semester, is to go and look for the course or the exercise programming with Python that, so to say, will be offered to all our first semester students.
And that is really cool because I think on our first keynote on Monday, Ranga Yogeshwar mentioned Python as well. So
I was so flashed to see that.
Okay, great. Okay, so there are those courses that the first semesters can take from next Monday on, I guess,
right,
shows them. And what would be a personal outcome? Like, why would I do that as a student?
So I think one very important aspect is it could open a new world for you, I think. So on the one hand side, you really learn to really make and shape digital things, digital applications, right? I think it's different from only discussing and reflecting aspects, or really knowing what you really reflect upon, right? So, and that gives you a chance to really learn it. And that is what we experienced already in the last year. Some of these students enjoy that stuff so much, even though they started with humanities, for example, that they want to continue. And we basically offer pathways after the first semester to continue to do that. And I think today in every scientific discipline, this stuff is very, very important. You can actually use it. So, and therefore, I mean, students are here to study and they want to obviously understand their discipline. And I think programming and especially data science methods can really help them to make a difference in their discipline.
Okay, yeah, I actually had some friends in the humanities that were taking these complementary courses for programming.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So our students will find those courses on My Study, if I am informed rightly.
That's true. I think in German it's Programmierung mit Python, and it's an exercise or an Übung.
Yeah.
So we offer it to all students. So there will be, I think, roughly 35 groups in the first semester. And we will really make sure that we start from scratch. Yeah. So there are no prerequisites.
Yeah.
It's really simple stuff.
Okay. So no fear of not knowing.
Fear. Yeah. And people are really surprised when they start how simple things are if you are guided a little bit through the bushes.
Okay. I might come.
That sounds good.
And data X. Why is that X?
So I think there's obviously one reason. So the full name of the project that is actually funded by the Stifterverband and the Heinz-Nixdorf Stiftung is Data-Driven X. And as you probably remember from school, X stands for unknown variables, right?
Yeah.
So in our case, it can be good. It can be anything, right? So data-driven medicine, data-driven marketing. But that is, so to say, one perspective, content-wise. And the other thing which we had in mind is we want to really excite students about that. It can be really a lot of fun to do it, and therefore we had chosen this X.
Okay. For the excitement as well.
Right.
Okay, you excited me and for data now. Although I'm from the humanities. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
And now I hand over to Cornelius. Cornelius, when you're on the desk, you're doing data stuff as well. But are you informed?
I'm always informed, Farina. You should know that. And you are also informed. After this week, you've got so many informative tips and tricks. We had so many awesome guests that gave you so many awesome tips for your first days here on campus, for your first semester. And I was yesterday I met yesterday Clara from the Info Point, and I asked her for maybe some more unusual tips and tricks. Watch yourself. Moin, ich bin hier mit Clara vom Orga-Team und du bist am Infopoint. Jetzt wollte ich mal fragen, hast du ein paar Tipps für uns oder für die Erstsemester und ihren Studienstart?
Ein sehr guter Tipp ist, dass man mit dem Semesterticket umsonst in Lüneburg und sogar in Hamburg ins Museum kommt und in einige Konzerthäuser wie die Elbphilharmonie.
Cool, danke dir.
Gerne.
Hey Farina, schön dich zu sehen.
Na, okay.
Kurze Frage, ein paar Tipps für einen Studienstart?
Oh ja, mir ist vorhin eine Sache eingefallen, da hätte ich eigentlich schon viel länger drauf kommen müssen. In der Bib sind super wenig Steckdosen, immer Verlängerungskabel dabei haben. Am besten mit mehreren Steckern für deine Freunde.
Danke dir, super guter Tipp. Hey Jelta, schön dich zu sehen. Ein paar Tipps für unser Erstsemester?
Ein paar Tipps? Ich glaube, spontan würde mir da einfallen, an der Uni kann man alles drucken.
Alles drucken?
Ja, einfach alles.
Alles drucken. Danke dir. Rasmus, geht's dir gut?
Mir geht's gut, ja.
Schön dich zu sehen.
Ja.
Wir sind gerade auf der Suche nach so ein paar Tipps für unsere Erststudierenden.
Ja, ich würde sagen, in der Uni und vor allem in der Bib kann das ja auch mal schnell anstrengend und intensiv werden. Direkt hinter dem Zentralgebäude gibt es einen Wald, wo man sich auch mal gut entspannen kann.
Cool, das machen wir auch, nachdem wir hier fertig sind, wahrscheinlich, ne? Marcel, alles fresh?
Moin moin, alles fresh.
Ein Tipp für unsere neuen Studierenden?
Ja, gern doch. Damit deine Hausarbeiten, Präsis und Statistiken am Ende richtig professionell aussehen, solltest du dir Microsoft Office Student holen. Damit sehen dann deine PowerPoints am Ende richtig geil aus.
Ja, on fire. Danke dir. Schönen Tag noch. Emil! Hi! Moin! Moin! Komm, ich will Bescheid. Ein paar Tipps oder ein Tipp für unser Erstsemester?
Ja, das beste WLAN in der Mensa, das hat man an der Glasfront direkt zum Campus hin.
An der Glasfront zum Campus hin. Super, nehme ich mit. Danke dir. Tschö. Leonie, ist das dein Fahrrad?
Nee, leider nicht. Ich kann es nicht finden.
Das heißt?
Das heißt, ihr solltet euch immer merken, wo euer Fahrrad steht, wenn ihr morgens zum Campus kommt.
Okay, immer merken, wo das Fahrrad steht. Leonie sucht wahrscheinlich noch. Carlotta? Ja? Hi, vielleicht hast du auch noch einen Tipp. Moin. Für unsere neuen Erstsemester, wir suchen ein paar Tipps für den Studienstart. Hast du da was für uns?
Ja, auf jeden Fall. Also denkt immer daran, rechtzeitig eure Klausuren auf KISS anzumelden.
Ja, das ist ein sehr, sehr sinnvoller Tipp.
Ja.
Vielen, vielen Dank.
Oh, Cornelius, aber am allerwichtigsten ist, immer rechtzeitig zur Showtime.
Okay, ja.
Da sein.
Ja, sorry.
Komm, los, bis später. Ciao. Oh, my dear Cornelius.
Sorry, but
Don't
now,
come late.
now you're really informed and have everything you need to know. And with us in the studio, super exciting, is Moritz, Constantine, and Art Attack. Hi, so great to see you guys.
Hi.
So happy that you're here.
Good having you here. So that is Moritz, Hannes, Yannick, Luise, and Yoshi. Nice that you're here.
Exactly. When I was a kid, I always watched Art Attack. Do you know Art Attack? What?
No.
Did you have a childhood?
I think so.
What? Okay.
Not sure.
I always watched Art Attack, and I loved that show. And when I heard you guys rehearsing, I loved you guys immediately. Love at first sight. How did you came to that name?
Initially, it was just the name of the group chat when we formed. Obviously, you have to put a name to a group chat when you open one, and that was the name because I recently watched an episode of Art Attack. And I thought it was funny, and then it just happened like this.
And what is it that you're playing? Because we've been grooving already this morning, but what is it?
Yeah.
What kind of music is that?
It's kind of indie popish, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. So how can we be updated from you guys? Do you have social media or Spotify, something like that?
Yeah, we do. It's actually my name that we are using right now, as you may have heard earlier, but we will switch to Art Attack soon. But now you can listen to the songs on Spotify on my name, Moritz Constantine, and moritzconstantine.music is the Instagram page. You can visit us there. And soon we will play more gigs as Art Attack without my name.
So where are you going to play? Are there any gigs announced?
Yeah, in 2 days, on Saturday evening, we play at the Klima Camp in the Kurpark in Lüneburg.
In the Kurpark? Okay.
Yes.
Keep the distance, though, in the Kurpark?
We will, yeah.
Good.
Exactly.
It's important
Yeah.
because we know what happened in the last couple of days. That's not okay.
Cool.
That's true. But so nice to have you. I can't wait. But Farina has some important information for us.
Yeah, that's right. So, last normal day. Tomorrow there's only the final coming up. Tomorrow at 12:15 p.m. We're welcoming you one last time here from the studio. My heart is bleeding already. And today we have a really cool keynote at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Marina Weisband is coming, a young politician and activist, and she's going to talk about where democracy grows, about digital participation in urban space. So when you've gotten into this future cities, when you want to learn more and maybe become a city shaper in the next weeks, months and years, then come to that keynote and get into talk with Marina Weisband. Because, as you know, we have this opportunity to let you in via Zoom. We're very looking forward to that. And then in your project group work, it's all about making the critical comment and the visionary video. We're very excited on what is coming up there because we're going to have 4 videos and 2 comments in the final tomorrow. And 2 comments means there's going to be 2 of you in studio as well. So good luck with the production day. Have fun.
Fingers crossed. Thanks for watching.
And see you on campus.
I guess that's how you want it. I can see straight and you're upside down. I guess that's how you need it. I do not wanna feed you, do not wanna hear so. That's just the way we're going. Traveling at the speed of light again. But I guess that's how it's going. I guess that's how it's going, my friend. Yes, I know I've been mean, and I know it's coming back to me. I won't grow in between. There will be a time I'm gonna know drinking in the speed of sound again.
My brain ain't really working.
It's too much light and too much sound.
People make me nervous.
Sense overflows and I can show
that I am for certain.
But I don't know how to make it through.
I have to close the curtain.
I have to close the curtain, my friend. Yes, I know I've been mean, and I know it's coming back to me. I won't grow in between, but there will be a time I'm gonna know. There will be a time is gonna show. Oh, ist der geile Beat. Yes, I know I've been mean, and I know it's coming back to me. I won't grow in between. There will be a time I'm gonna know. There will be a time is gonna show. Oh, it's the guy to be.
This song was called Speed of Light, and the next one is called Fun. And this song is dedicated to my beloved little bike. And yeah, the next song is called Fun. Let's do it.
Here comes the second one, and I am all to the stars but out the way. Suddenly the countdown stops and I am lost, expecting more delay, because it made you dangerous when the roof was coming off and the rain was pouring in. Then I saw your second face, just a moment to erase, a journey to the pin. And all I do is run, 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 run. And all I do is ride my bike, and I know what it takes to have some fun. And all I do is hit the pipe and get on the way. Here comes the second one, and I am off, and now I'm shooting for the moon. Was laying in the summer sun until someone casting shadows in my room, cause it made you dangerous when the roof was coming up and the rain was pouring in. Then I saw your second face, just a moment to erase, a journey to the pin. Out of checks, alright. And all I do is run, 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 run. And all I do is ride my bike, and I know what it takes to have some fun, 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 fun. So all I do is hit the vibe and get on the way to have some fun, 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 fun. And all I do is ride my bike, and I know what it takes to have some fun, 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 fun. So all I do is hit the vibe and get on the way. And all I do is run, 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 run. And all I do is ride my bike, and I know what it takes to have some fun, 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 fun. So all I do is hit the vibe and yeah.
Thanks for having us.
More. The depth of nothing left behind. I'm walking forward straight but blind. And when I'm seeing you again, I don't want to hold it back, but you want to be my friend. I just want to hold your hand. I just want to hold